Two and one. What up, what up, what up? Good evening. What's happening, folks? It's the pastor. Praying that everybody's had a wonderful, wonderful day today. Wednesday, May 21st. Man, I wish this was one of them times when I might just be able to have a pleasant message or whatever, but man, it's rough out here. It's rough. People crazy. I don't know about y'all, but man, people crazy out here. It don't make no kind of sense. Good evening. It's Facebook Live with the pastor. Y'all please come on in, chime on in. I'm going to start this Tupac up just for a little background music while I try to get somebody tagged. I hope that my tag button is working, which it probably ain't, you know. Little Tupac from, I believe, like 1993 or something like that, you know. Welcome to Facebook Live with the pastor. But I see no changes. Nope. Tag button ain't working. It's all right. See what else we can do here. Yeah. Welfare. Yeah, I hope everybody's had a wonderful day today. This was not a live that I really wanted to do, but there's some things that just don't add up, okay? That don't make sense. And when things don't make sense to me, I like to talk about them. Maybe sometimes I can even talk my way into understanding what's going on, but in this time, it's just the way it is. I don't get it. I don't understand. Cynthia, thank you for joining us. Maxine, thank you for joining me tonight. Please share this out, invite some more people in, as we got this Tupac in the background talking about that's just the way it is. It's really sad that's the way it is, especially tonight as I talk about the murders of 3 black women, okay? 3 black women. I've talked about this situation before because it's been heavy on my spirit. It's been heavy on my soul. Oh. Been heavy on my soul for 3 years now. Interacting with the family members, trying to get justice. But on the real, man, I see no changes. In the end, all there was injustice. Sean, thank you for getting on. I appreciate you. All it is injustice in the end, and usually injustice is injustice against people who look like me. So I want to talk about this thing tonight. Again. 3 black women. Crazy. Stephanie Dantzler, who on May the 8th of 2022, Mother's Day, she was 53 years old. She had just celebrated her 53rd birthday a few days earlier. Her daughters who were with her, Shanice, the older daughter, Shanice was 28 years old at the time. Working mom, or working young lady who was pursuing her education, furthering her education, and her younger sister, Miranda. Miranda was 22 at that time. And the day before, Miranda had graduated from Claflin College, gotten her degree in criminal justice, and had a promising career waiting for her. I think she had a job lined up in Hilton Head or somewhere on that end. Mother's Day. After celebrating the graduation the day before, celebrating Mother's Day together, apparently they were the kind of mother-daughter team where the family says, and everybody that I've talked to said, that if you see one, you saw all 3. And that night, May 8th, 10:55 p.m., Highway 17, out in Ravenel, South Carolina, a dark stretch of 4-lane highway with a wide median. Their destiny collided with a cop who didn't have any regard for their lives and ultimately wound up with the 3 of them dying that night. A horrible death, where this cop was responding to a call to a non-emergency call at night on a very dark road, a 2-lane road, new road, no lights or nothing like that. She was flying down that road, exceeding at times 80 miles an hour, down that little dark road. No lights on, no sirens or nothing like that flashing. And she got to the road that Shanice was driving on. Shanice was the driver, the oldest of the two sisters, the oldest of the daughter. She was driving. Her sister, Miranda, who had graduated from Claflin College the day before, was in the passenger seat. And the mother, Stephanie, was in the back seat. Lights on, driving, you know, according to the speed limit and everything. Almost 11 o'clock at night, pitch black outside. And without even seeing or even noticed it, they were slammed into by this cop. Her name is Emily Pelletier. Their car was T-boned. Many of you understand the ramifications of being T-boned. It's like you're going this way, and then you get slammed this way. But the way that they got slammed that night, that cop went through a stop sign that was on at the end of New Road, at the intersection of New Road and Highway 17. The big old highway now, 4 lanes and a big median. At the end of New Road, right there at Highway 17, there's a stop sign there. She disregarded that stop sign and went straight through and crossed those 3 lanes of traffic and that median before slamming into that car that Shanice was driving. Miranda was in the passenger seat, and their mom was in the back seat, killing all 3 of them. When she hit them, the sensors in the vehicle, in her police cruiser, recorded her at driving at 71 miles an hour. They say when she went through the stop sign, she was doing 73 miles an hour, and I guess it decreased a bit before impact, that 1 second. It also noted that it took her 1 second to cross from the stop sign to slamming into that car. 1 second. And them clown ass lawyers, excuse what I say, tried to make it seem like it was Shanice's fault that this cop did it in court. But that's not what I'm here for tonight. Okay, that's just the history. Stephanie, the mother, 53 years old, just celebrated her birthday. The older sister, Shanice, working on her, I believe, her master's degree. Younger sister, Miranda. Shanice was 28, Miranda was 22. Miranda just graduated Claflin College, degree in criminology. Job waiting for her down in Hilton Head and everything. Just celebrated Mother's Day together, and the 3 of them was always seen together. And at 5 minutes to 11 on Mother's Day, the night of Mother's Day, May 8th, 2022, their lives were ended by this cop, this former cop, who didn't give a care. I should have put a disclaimer on the status here that I might say some colorful words tonight, because I'm just feeling like that. Because I don't understand it when I look at the numbers. This cop who just did not give a darn about their lives, their black lives, their lives did not matter to her. And we have a clear idea of why she was doing that. A very clear idea that wasn't brought out in court. She was actually racing to the scene of this non-emergency with her partner. Her partner was in another vehicle. Her Charleston County Sheriff's deputy partner was in another vehicle. They got the call at the same time, and apparently they were racing to get to the scene of this non-emergency. See who could get there the fastest. And apparently the other cop got there before she did, and she actually wound up killing Stephanie, Shanice, and Miranda. But again, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to give the background right now. And I want to shift, though, because the title of what I'm talking about tonight is not just the murders of 3 black women. And yes, it was murder. I don't care what they say. Reckless homicide, we can't charge them with murder. What I mean, it was murder. I'm going to say something, and I know there are those who will have a problem with it. If this would have been 3 white people in that car and a black cop, it would have been murder, and that cop would have been doing a life sentence and already been to court a long time ago. Now, of course, that's an opinion. I can't substantiate that. But deep down in my heart, that's what I feel. Anybody don't like it, that's your problem. It ain't my problem. Say what I said. As they say, I said what I said. But by the numbers. The first number being the 3 of them were killed on May the 8th, 2022. 3 years ago. 3 years ago this past May. A month later, it wasn't until a month later that an arrest warrant was actually issued for the driver, for the cop, for the former Charleston County Sheriff's Deputy Emily Pelletier. The arrest warrant was not issued until a month later. I don't understand it. Especially when 2 days, a little less than 2 days after the tragedy, because that wasn't no accident. That wasn't no accident. That was a tragedy. Just like inside of Mother Emanuel, Dylan Roof killing those 9 people. That wasn't no accident. That was a tragedy. This was another tragedy. And 2 days later, a community guy out here, Elvin Spates, he went out and he actually looked at the scene, untrained eye and everything. He put all of the pieces together about how this thing happened. And ultimately, everything that he said about how it happened came out in court as the way it did happen. Everything. But there was no arrest warrant issued for this cop until 30 days later, on June 7th. And even after that 30 days and the arrest warrant was issued on June 7th, happened May the 8th, arrest warrant on June the 7th, they still did not pick her up then because they couldn't. She wasn't in town. She was out parlaying somewhere, visiting somebody or something like that. They literally waited until, that was Tuesday when the arrest warrant was issued. Friday the 10th is when she was arrested. 3 days later. 33 days after she killed Stephanie and her 2 daughters, Shanice and Miranda. What kind of sense do that make? They put her on paid administrative leave, and what she do? She went on vacation, right? Anytime you get paid when you're off from work, that's vacation. And what she do? She went on vacation. So they had to wait for her to come back to arrest her. So on June 10th, she was arrested, right? She was actually pulled up to the Sally Port, got up, they call it the Sally Port, where you're right in the parking area that accompanies admission into the processing area, okay? Pulled into there, got out of the vehicle, walked inside. The time, it was 1:45 p.m. on June 10th. Remember, this is by the numbers. Pay attention to the numbers I'm talking about. It was 1:45 p.m. when she walked into the jailhouse. Al Cannon Detention Center over on Leeds Avenue. Some of y'all know where it's at. I used to be a resident there back in the day. 1:45 p.m. on Friday, June 10th. And less than 2 hours later, she was released on bond. 1:45 p.m. she got there, and before 3:45 p.m. she was released on bond. Make it make sense. Released on bond. I've been to jail before, and it just don't work that way. It's pretty amazing how we have a picture of her inside of the detention center, and she was like making calls, I guess, at the detective's desk or something like that. When you get arrested, you don't do none of that. At least I never did. No, I was kept in a holding cell. I didn't get to see a bond court judge until like later that night or the next morning, depending on what time it was. Wasn't no thing like you walk in, you go before a bond court judge, and you get everything. And this was after waiting for her again. Now she walked in at 1:45 in the afternoon on June 10th, and less than 2 hours later, she bounced. She bounced. She went to bond court right after she got there. Again, stopped by the detective's desk to make a few phone calls or whatever, you know. Remember, this lady killed 3 people. This lady killed 3 women on Mother's Day. And not only is she getting that kind of treatment, but what about her demeanor? What kind of person is that? Who we see pictures of her in the area where the detectives are and everything, and she just walks in, and then they call her in for bond court, a video bond hearing, and at the bond hearing, the judge there gave her a $75,000 surety bond, $75,000. Now that was not per victim. That wasn't $75,000 for Stephanie, $75,000 for Shanice, and $75,000 for Miranda. That was $75,000 total bond for killing 3 black women. Follow the numbers. $75,000 bond for killing 3 black women. The judge said in court, and I quote, "I'm going to set bond of each charge for $25,000 per charge." So that's a total surety bond of $75,000 for killing 3 women. The judge didn't say that last part. 3 black women. Come on. What kind of sense does that make? But then the same judge, she also said this. She said, and I quote, "I understand you have ties to the community," speaking about the cop, Emily Pelletier. "I understand you have ties to the community and you have family with no prior history, apparently no prior criminal history." But then the judge said this, listen, "I do think the level of recklessness in this situation speaks for itself as to the dangers in the community." But then she gave her $25,000 per victim instead of setting a higher bond. I know people that got higher bond for a tenth of cocaine. Come on, somebody make it make sense. Who was that judge? Female judge. I'm unsure. I'm unsure. $25,000, and then admitted it was a problem as far as what she did. She said that the level of recklessness in this situation speaks for itself as to the dangers you are in the community. One of the attorneys that were there present for the family asked for no bond, but the judge said she couldn't do that according to the law because the crime was not deemed violent. It wasn't deemed violent according to the law. The law is screwed up, folks. It's screwed up. This lady killed the 3 of them that night, drove through a stop sign, and hit the side of that car at 71 miles an hour, and they were killed instantly. Instantly. The photos were so graphic that they would not show them in court because out of respect for the family members that were sitting there. The photos that were taken after this tragedy, this impact, this total disregard for human life that this cop did, that this judge just says, well, we'll give him $25,000 per, let me just say it, per body. $25,000. And guess what? After she had had 30 days, 33 days out doing whatever she did, paid leave and everything. Guess what she did as soon as the judge set the bond? She paid the bond and bounced. Paid the bond and bounced. She did not, until she went to court, spend 1 day in jail. Till she went to court 3 years later. Did she spend 1 day in jail? So let me reiterate before I move on. Let me reiterate, okay? When Emily Pelletier was finally arrested and booked into the Al Cannon Detention Center, a full month after killing Stephanie, Shanice, and Miranda, she walked into the Al Cannon Detention Center at 1:45 p.m. in the afternoon on Friday, June 10th, 2022. She was booked without the usual jail procedures at all. Excuse me. She went to a video bond court then, was given a bond, a very low bond, especially for the grievous nature of the crime that she committed. She made that bond, probably because, and I think in my heart, this is an opinion, that she knew what the bond was going to be before she got there. But she made the bond and was released on bond at 3:32 p.m. Got there at 1:45. At 3:32 in the afternoon, she bounced out of the jail on bond for the next 3 years. Less than 2 hours time. And again, she never saw the inside of a cell before she went to court. April of this year. Remember, this was June of 2022. It happened May 8th, 2022. She was arrested and went to bond court on June 10th of 2022. And she went to court 3 years later in April of this year. April of this year. April 15th, as a matter of fact. Getting ready to get to that. Remember, it's about the numbers now. From the time that she made bond on June 10th, 2022, she was out on bond until April 21st, 2022. Actually, April 14th. No, let me just go April 21st, 2025. Just this past April. Because the sentencing in court, the finding of being guilty in court happened on April 21st. So her bond was still in effect. Even though she was in court, she was still under the stipulations of bond until she was found guilty in court, which was on April 21st. So from June 10th, 2022 until April the 21st, 2025, she was a free woman. Free woman. You know how much time is? Because this is about the numbers. This is about the numbers. For 3 years, that's 1,046 days. She was free to do whatever she wanted. As a matter of fact, there were times when she wanted to travel. The stipulation, the judge said, you cannot travel, okay? But then they said, if you want to travel, you got to get permission from the family. And she kept bothering the family because she wanted to go here and do that and have a good time and go. I heard a rumor, I can't substantiate it, that at one point she wanted to go to the Olympics. And guess who the victim's advocate had to ask about that? Finally, the family just said, stop asking us stuff like that. No. Period. You killed our loved ones. Now you asking us for permission to travel somewhere? Get out of here. Get out of here. But she was out on bond for 1,046 days. That's 34 months she was out on bond. 34 months, 1 week, and 4 days. That's 2 years and 10 months and 11 days that she was out free. 2 years. Christmases and Thanksgivings and New Year's and birthdays and all of this. Again, back to that demeanor. She killed 3 women. If they weren't black, she still killed 3 women. What kind of sociopath is she that they're treating with these kid gloves and very nicely with what they're doing with her? But here she was out on bond, which she's entitled to, okay? After the craziest and the most lenient stop through jail, bond and everything that I've ever seen in my life. And again, I've been there before. I ain't never got treated like that. Sort of like when Dylan Roof got arrested and they took him to Burger King for a Happy Meal before he went to jail. I done been in many squad cars on the way to jail, and never once did they ask me, would you like to get something? And Mr. Dixon, would you like to stop by for a Happy Meal first before you go to jail? No, that we ain't going to feed you no good food when you get there to jail, so would you like to stop on it? They did a mass murderer like that. And so here we have another, that was 3 people in that car, another mass murderer that they basically did the same thing for, but they gave her 2 years, 10 months, and 11 days out in the public to do whatever she wanted to do, have a grand old time while this family buried their loved ones and only was able to visit and went to visit them for every holiday at the cemetery. At the cemetery. So, at the end of that bond period, okay, fast forward to April of this year, April 14th actually, they were called into court. Finally got into court after all this time. Finally, okay. Jury selection, April 14th. Remember, Emily had been out there free for 2 years and 10 months, going on 3 years free. Got into court, jury selection on April 14th. The following day, April 15th, that's when the court case started, okay? And after 4 days of testimony, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, court adjourned for Saturday and Sunday. And they came back in on Monday. They had closing arguments, and the jury went into what's called deliberation. That's when they take all the evidence that they saw over those 4 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the previous week, and they decide guilt or innocent. And that jury, this was April 21st, 1 week after jury selection, 6 days after the case started, and including the weekend before, Saturday and Sunday, that Monday, April 21st, 2025, 1 month ago, that jury did what that jury was supposed to do. They came back with a verdict of guilty on all 3 counts. Unanimous verdict. And guess what? They were in deliberation for less than 2 hours. There was nobody in the jury pool who thought that she did not kill these 3 women. There were times during the testimony you could actually hear them sniffling over there because their hearts were broken just as the family's sitting there. Emily Pelletier was sitting there too. Never once showed a bit of emotion really until she got on the stand. Then all of a sudden it was. But remember, she was out for 3 years enjoying life and everything. Remember, after this happened, she went and visited somebody. They had to wait for her to come back to get arrested. Now all of a sudden in court, you went, get out of here. Get out of here. So the jury verdict came back. Guilty on all 3 charges. Now, for the family, I know that was a relief point right there. We finally got justice. We've been waiting all this time. We got no information coming from the solicitor's office. We didn't know when the case was going to trial. We didn't this. We got this girl bugging us about taking trips and carrying on, and we don't want to hear that. We have press conferences trying to get the solicitors to at least bring information out and move the case forward and all of this. And after all that time now and 4 days of testimony and graphic nature and photos and all of this in court, and after the 4 days of testimony and the weekend, now finally there came a verdict, and the verdict was exactly what the family had hoped for: guilty on all 3 charges. And anybody in their right mind, and I think I was in my right mind, was sitting there saying, yes, victory, justice has been served. But how many of you know that justice was not served that day? Because after the jury was dismissed, after the jury left the court, sentencing was totally up to the judge. Completely up to the judge. It was the judge's, as they say, discretion. You know, discretion. That means that I can do whatever I want to, basically, within the guidelines of the law. Now, within the guidelines of the law, this judge's name was Dale Van Slambrook. Dale Van Slambrook. And he's the judge. He knows the solicitor and all of that, you know, and I don't know about connections, but it's some crazy stuff going on about right now, because you remember there's a guilty conviction. Now the judge got the sentence. And each count of reckless homicide that she was convicted of, found guilty of, each count of reckless homicide actually carries up to a 10-year sentence for each count. That means that the judge could give her 10 years, could have given her 10 years on each one of those counts. Maximum. 30 years. Running consecutively. That was the maximum that the judge could give her. 10 years running consecutively. That means that she served 10 years, then start the next 10 years, then start the next 10 years. 30 years in prison. But Judge Dale Van Slambrook, he ain't do that. He ain't do that. When he opened up his mouth and started talking about the sentencing, he said that instead of the maximum that I can give, he suspended that 10-year sentence down to 5 years, okay, on each charge. So that's 15 years, okay? And then, well, he actually sentenced them, instead of 10 years, to 5 years. And then of the 5 years that he sentenced them to, 5 plus 5 plus 5, which would have been 15 years, okay, if they're running consecutively. But then he suspended the 5 years per person down to 3 years per person. So it went from a 30-year option down to a 15-year sentence that he lowered even further down to 9 years collectively, running consecutively, okay? But then he didn't pass the sentence as consecutive serving, 3 plus 3 plus 3. He didn't even settle for that. He said, no, we're not going to run them consecutively. We're going to do what we call running them concurrently. So instead of having 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9 years to serve in prison for killing 3 black women, remember, this is by the numbers. Instead of having 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is 9 years for killing these 3 black women, he said we're going to condense them all. Instead of 9 years, let them all run together. 3 years for Stephanie, 3 years for Shanice, 3 years for Miranda, but they're all going to be served at the same time, 3 years, and that's it. It's what they call concurrently. Concurrently. 3 years. A total of 1 year per body. And it's stuff like that that makes me have to keep speaking up. But there's some extra things that kind of made me move tonight about this thing by the numbers. Because those are some numbers that don't make sense either. The punishment did not fit the crime. And you're going to see even further how much the punishment did not fit the crime in a couple of seconds here. Remember, he could have given her 30 years. She would have served 85% of that time, which would have been about 27 years, 28 years. Instead, he gave her 3 years. 3 years for 3 dead black women that she murdered. I'm not even going to talk about the behavior of her family in court and how they gave some special privilege and whatever. I'm going to stick right where I'm at about these numbers, okay? Sentence start date 4/20/2020. 25. I really don't understand how the sentence start date was 4/20/25. Let's see what it says. Let's see. It's not on here. Oh yeah, it is right here. Right here. I have this picture of her, right? This is her right here. And this is from Inmate Search, South Carolina Department of Corrections. But right here, where it has the 3 victims' names and everything, and the sentencing, it says start date 4/20/25. Remember, I want you to remember something though. The conviction was on 4/21. So how are you going to start the sentence the day before? And I'm not cutting nobody no slack. That one day, she need to serve that one day too. Don't get no extra time for no reason at all. But this is what we're looking at. This is the preferential treatment. Okay? So, by the numbers. Here's a really disturbing. This is disturbing. Okay? This is totally disturbing by the numbers. Okay? Again, it has a sentence start date of 4/20, which it really should have been 4/21, because she was not convicted of anything on 4/20, unless they already knew what they was going to do. Thanks, you hear that? Unless they knew what they were going to do that Friday, that Saturday, that Sunday, and then they just carried it out on Monday. Maybe, I don't know. Just thought about that, okay? But listen, on this sheet right here, it talks about a projected release date, and it talks about a projected parole eligibility date right here, okay? And now the release date, projected release date. Remember, her sentence started according to their records. Mine is 4/21. Their records 4/20/2025 this year, okay? The projected release date is February 20th, 27. By the numbers. 4/20/25 until 2/20/27. From April 20th, 2025 until February 20th, 2027. You know how much time that is for the projected release date? That's 1 year and 10 months. Time that she's supposed to serve her projected release date. That's 670 days. Remember, she was out on bond for 1,046 days. She was out on bond for 2 years and 10, almost 3 years. And now, projected release date, that's what's on that page that I just showed you from the Inmate Search at South Carolina Department of Corrections. And that says that she is going to be projected to be released from prison. Done. In February of 2027. What is this? What's this? This is May the 21st, right? 2025. Next year is May the 1st, 2026. And by May the 1st, 2027, she'll be free. She'll be out here on the streets, according to her projected release date. But there's another number I want you to consider, because this is by the number, something I just mentioned, and it's what's called the projected parole eligibility date. That means that at this point, which is before the release date, she'll get a chance to go before a parole board that will have the authority to either tell her you've got to finish your sentence, or we're going to allow you to go home. And guess when that is? Her projected parole eligibility is in July 20th, 2026. Next year. This lady killed 3 black women. Her projected parole date. And if you think that she ain't getting ready to make parole, you got another thing. That man, they got that thing at all of that ironed out. July 20th, 26. From the day that she was sentenced, which was a month ago, that's 455 days in jail. That's 15 months. That's 1 year and 3 months. That June of next year, Emily Pelletier will be back out on the streets like she was when she was on bond after killing 3 black women. And that's by the numbers. 1 year and 3 months for killing 3 black women. 3 women. If she killed 3 dogs, she would got a lot more time. But she killed 3 women. And she's her projected parole eligibility date. It's right here. It's right here. You can go to inmate search and see it for yourself. It's right there. You can just go to South Carolina Department of Corrections, type in inmate search, put her name in there. Emily, E-M-I-L-Y, Pelletier, P-E-L-L-E-T-I-E-R. And it's going to show her, and it will show exactly what I'm saying, that her projected release date is 1 year and 10 months from now, and her parole date, though, is 1 year and 3 months from now. June of next year, relatively speaking, Emily Pelletier will be free from prison and back on the streets in time to celebrate the 4th of July next year. Let that sink in. She gonna miss 1 Thanksgiving. She gonna miss 1 Christmas. She gonna miss 1 New Year's. She gonna miss 1 Easter. She gonna miss 1 Mother's Day and ain't gonna think a damn thing about, excuse me, about Shanice and Miranda and Stephanie at all. And be back out on the streets in June, at the end of June 2026, next year. Next year, that's by the numbers. That's by the numbers. This is like, I'm done. I'm done. I done cussed, I'm done. It's time for me to move on tonight and to just settle within my heart the anger, I can't say hate, but the anger that I have over this whole situation. And there's another anger that I'm really, really bothered by, and that's because we have a community that allowed this to happen without even raising a stink, without even saying nothing. Them young cats out there in the street, activists or whatever, they like to talk about, we not our ancestors. Y'all sure ain't. Y'all sure ain't. Y'all ain't our ancestors from 15, 20 years ago, who would at least get out in the streets and make some noise. But now, crickets. Where them fans at? Yeah, that's where we at. That's where we at. Y'all better quit letting them make you think that boots on the ground means something other than standing up for your community. You know, and I'm down with a good time and everything. But there's also a time for us to rep for our community, for our people, to stand up for our people. And 3 black women were killed 3 years ago on Mother's Day, May 8th, 2022. And we have a judge who just sentenced their killer to 1 year and 3 months in prison for killing him. And we ain't said jack. J word is not the word I wanted to use. I want you to understand that we ain't say jack. But that's not the word I really want to use. We about sorry.
Are you really going to say it?
No, I'm not going to say it, wifey. My mind done said it, though. You believe that? My mind's telling me yes. But I ain't going to say it. I ain't going to say it. It's sad. It's sad. I'm laughing to keep from crying. 3 women who had their whole lives ahead of them. A family who loved to get together and have family gatherings and to talk and laugh and have fun together. And now they meet in huddled silence at the cemetery where all three of the girls are buried right there together. Beautiful memorial for them. I can't. But I had to say this tonight, and I had to do it by the numbers so you understood exactly what I'm talking about. 1 year, the possibility of 1 year and 3 months in prison, on a max of 1 year and 10 months in prison for killing Stephanie Dantzler, 53 years old, Shanice Dantzler Williams, 28 years old, and Miranda Dantzler Williams, 22 years old. 1 year and 3 months. Out in June of next year out of prison. Or if she does the whole sentence, 1 year and 10 months. Out in February of 2027. I'm done. Y'all take care. I know this wasn't a happy message or whatever like that, and it wasn't going to be. You know, it's just it was laid on my heart, very heavy on my heart today after I looked at them numbers and after I crunched them numbers out. I tried to make them numbers look better so I at least so I might feel better. I tried to lie to myself. And I couldn't lie to myself when I looked at the numbers. And this one right here, right there, that's the face of a cold-hearted killer. Straight up. Who's going to serve 1 year and 3 months in jail. June of next year. Oh, she'll be back on the streets, I guarantee you. Because they're going to grant her parole. Y'all take care. Have a wonderful evening. I thank you all who got on and stayed on. Y'all please share this out. Other people need to hear this message. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. And no matter which way I look at it, it's heavy on my heart. It should be heavy on your heart. And it should be heavy on the hearts of our community. But we're so distracted about everything else. Everything else is our priority. You know. But just think, if that would have happened in your family, how would you feel? After the disrespect that was given in the arrest situation, the disrespect in the bond court, the disrespect during the bond period, waiting on court, the disrespect in the court after a guilty jury verdict. Now, the disrespect in the prison system that this judge. I'm done. Y'all take care. Have a wonderful evening. I'll be back on sometime soon. Hopefully not to talk about so much heaviness. But if it's necessary, you know I'm going to bring it. I'm going to bring it. That's what I do. And in the meantime, y'all keep the family lifted up in prayer. Miss Betty and the brothers Eric and Darren and Shanice and Miranda's father, Randall, and their sisters and the rest of the family. Keep them in prayer. Keep them in prayer, because this has got to be, I mean, they keep slapping this family around. This system keeps slapping this family around. And it's a system of white supremacy. That's the only way I can put it. Because other people don't get breaks like that. Our people don't get breaks like that. Black dude that taped the dog's mouth shut, he got 10 years for taping the dog mouth shut. Shouldn't have done it. But I guess the dog was more important than Stephanie and Shanice and Miranda. I guess. The girl will be out in June of next year. I guarantee she's gonna get parole. June of next year. Y'all have a wonderful evening. I love y'all. I'll talk to y'all again soon. I'll probably be back on sometime soon to talk about how we don't vote or something like that. I know it'd be some reason for me to badmouth somebody, all right? But even if I'm doing that, I still love you, okay? I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about that. Have a wonderful evening. We'll talk soon. Peace.